Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the 1997 release of the electronic Power Effects Obi-Wan Kenobi. This was the subline release in the Power of the Force 2 line of figures. Here it is, of course, on the packaging, where it still carries that theme. You got the green background, Darth Vader in the upper left corner, that Star Wars Power of the Force logo on the right side. You had an image of the toy with it mentioning that the electronic saber actually glows. Interestingly, they do show him with a blue lightsaber in the photo, but as you see the figure inside that packaging, for some reason he comes with a green lightsaber. I have no idea the backstory of this, but yeah, that's what we got. And down at the bottom of that blister, you're going to see the branding for this, as I already mentioned, Electronic Power Effects, his name being part of the Rebel Alliance, and then the highlighting of the glowing lightsaber and remote dueling action. And I'll show all that off, of course. On the bottom side of that packaging, you got some instructions, highlight how to play with it, that, should be an adult that cuts the background out, that it takes 2 A76 batteries, which are included. And here is the back of that card, where on the top part, it shows you that you can connect this Obi-Wan Kenobi to the Darth Vader version that was also released alongside this. And in the bottom part of the card, you've got your cutout where that contains the background for this Obi-Wan figure. Darth Vader came with the other half. And then at the very bottom, you got a small image showing off the also available electronic power effects R2-D2. Taking a look at him out of the packaging, and first up, just going to concentrate just on the figure. The lightsaber I'm leaving in because, well, really only the green plastic part actually comes out. It's not a removable lightsaber as you're used to with the traditional figures. And as I already mentioned, he came out in '97, part of that Power of the Force line, so he does still carry that bulked up appearance. No, it wasn't a great look for the figures, but that is how things looked at the time. So as I've mentioned before, that's kind of the lens that I look at these older figures on, is the time frame in which they were released. And with that said, going in for a closer look at the head sculpt, where, well, doesn't really look like him. I mean, it is an old white guy with gray hair and a beard. So with the costume and that, you do instantly think of Obi-Wan, but there's not a whole lot of resemblance. Very big blue eyes. Nice placement, though. I'm not 100% certain, but I do feel like this head sculpt is the same one that we received on the carded figure, but I could be wrong. When I looked at them side by side, I really couldn't see a difference between the two as far as that sculpting is concerned. There's some nice texture in for the hair on the top of his head and through his beard. Decent definition through the face and cheekbones and such. Moving further down in the figure, first up his outer robe. I mean, you can see the slit running down the side, so it doesn't give you full complete coverage either. You can see his inner robe through the top of the shoulders. Now, while the slits do allow you to kind of open up the legs a bit so that he can stand properly if you're not using that base, it makes him look that much more bulky. Kind of seems like instead of a hood, like he's got a backpack on underneath that robe or something. So it just, overall, just doesn't work too well. But I will say for what they gave us, the texturing and coloring does look pretty nice. It's some various folds sculpted on the outer part of the robe, and then looking at the inner part of the robe where it's that off-white coloring. Here also, very nice layering effect being done within the sculpt. Various folds as it comes down the center of the chest, under the belt, out the bottom, and you see the various layers of the tabards and the inner robe underneath that. Nice drape over his right leg as it kind of folds over the knee. And that sculpting for the belt that they did give us, it's a little bit large. It seems like more of an exaggerated belt buckle. Decent painting though, nice dark brown and nice bronze color for the buckle. And then on the back side of that robe, some very nice layering of the hood that's folded down. Now, since they've specifically given us this figure as he's dueling Darth Vader, would have been great if the hood was up, especially since they were sculpting this new piece anyways. The original Obi-Wan, while it had a similar sculpt, it didn't have that draping over the knee. So that's definitely a new piece, and I couldn't say why they opted not to have the hood up. As far as the arms on the figure, the color matches up very well to that shell of a robe. You got a few subtle folds sculpted into the fabric where that arm bends at the elbow, or, kind of curved in that area at least. The lightsaber, as I mentioned, is sculpted into his hand, and it is quite a large lightsaber. Now you got to keep in mind there are electronics running down his right arm into the lightsaber that houses the light that makes the lightsaber glow, so that's the need for the larger lightsaber in his hand. And as far as that green blade, yes, it's very unfortunate that it's not blue, but for what it is, I will certainly say it's a nice vibrant green. But really, I mean, in my mind, there's just no excuse for it not to be blue. And I'll remove that cloak real quick. Here's a look. You have pretty much a fully decked out figure underneath. Here's that backside though, where you can definitely tell the batteries go. As I mentioned earlier, 2 A76 batteries, and then that right there is your little button that even with the cloak on, you can push that and it'll illuminate the blade of the lightsaber. I'm currently recording this with all my lights on. It's washed out, so let me kill a couple lights here. You can kind of get a decent look at how that glows. Now I have to say, even without my lights, it really isn't the brightest light in the world. When you turn it on, you can kind of tell that there's a light, but it's not all that impressive. And with that cloak off, we'll go ahead and take a closer look at the legs of the figure, where it definitely sculpted in more of an action-oriented stance, which makes sense considering that's the pose you want him in, as you're, using this as a full display piece with Darth Vader, or, if you didn't have Darth Vader. Either way, you're recreating that lightsaber battle. Sculpting for the legs is pretty minimal otherwise. Just some soft indents, some soft folds for what would be fabric, and pretty okay detailing for the boot sculpting also. Like I said, back in 97, you weren't getting a ton of detail like we're getting today with the Vintage Collection line, but what we've got here is pretty much in line with what we were getting. As for articulation, head does spin a full 360. His right arm is limited because of the electronics, but you still get a good range up and down. His left arm does swivel all the way. And while with the robes on, his legs would otherwise be limited, you do get a good swivel forward and even back. And as far as accessories, I don't count the lightsaber since that's built onto the figure. It does come with a display stand, which gives you the right side of the Death Star hallway, or that doorway as it led out to the Millennium Falcon. You have some Death Star panels on the right side, kind of done in this bluish gray color, I would say. Some white painted off on the right. Decent wall panel detailing. It's not overly done, but you get the idea. This is a Death Star environment. Along the backside, you got 3 little notches, and that is where you take your cardboard piece that's cut out from the backside, and you just lay that right in there. Overall, a pretty nice image for that piece. It does bug me a little bit that the coloring of the plastic doesn't match up so well to the cardboard background, especially through the top part of the Death Star panels. I will say that it's been about, 23, 24 years. Maybe one or the other has discolored over time, but I don't recall it matching all that perfectly to begin with. As far as the image of the Millennium Falcon you see in the background and the rest of the Death Star docking bay, it's a nice photo. Decent coloring to it, nice detail for the photograph itself. I have no complaints on that. As for the base itself, done all in black, and the top of it's just done in this little rib texturing. You have some Death Star panel designs running along the side of this base also, and that does carry all the way around. On the left of it, you've got a little notched in, and that does slide into the Darth Vader piece that's also available. You got a foot peg at the top of the base. You can slide your Obi-Wan figure on there, and as you see off to the right side of that stand is your little knob, and you can give it a twist, and that'll spin your figure. Slide it side to side, and that moves your action figure also. And here he is connected to the Darth Vader, which also came with the other side of that Millennium Falcon image. These two come together well and makes for something fun and different. And with the spinning action on the base, you can have a little lightsaber battle with both the figures. So overall, it's a pretty cool display piece, but not a great action figure on its own. I like the inclusion of the light-up lightsaber, even though it made things a little bit more bulky. I'd love to see what they could do today, now that there's LED lights, things are a lot smaller. So that's going to wrap this one up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comment. So that's going to wrap this one up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this set in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.